Right now, somewhere in the world, a person is bowing to another person. Not because that other person is stronger, not because they could win a fight. They bow because of an idea, an invisible agreement that one human being is worth more than another. You probably haven't thought about how strange that is. But the real answer is far stranger than you think. For most of human history, there were no kings, no thrones, no crowns. For nearly 200,000 years, your ancestors lived in small bands where no one person told anyone else what to do. Everyone hunted, everyone gathered, everyone had a say. If someone tried to boss the group around, something remarkable happened. They got mocked. Anthropologist Christopher Bohm spent decades studying hunter-gatherer societies across the globe, and he found the same pattern again and again. When one member of a band got too pushy, too proud, too eager to control the others, the group didn't fight him. They laughed at him. They gossiped about him. They excluded him from the fire. Bohm called this a reverse dominance hierarchy. The group, together, was more powerful than any single bully. So bullies simply didn't survive as leaders. Egalitarianism wasn't an accident. It was enforced, on purpose, every single day, by ordinary people refusing to be ruled. So here's the question that should keep you up at night. If your ancestors spent 200,000 years actively crushing anyone who tried to become a king, how did kings ever happen at all? The answer isn't war. It isn't violence. It's food. Around 12,000 years ago, something shifted in human societies. People stopped only moving with the seasons. They started staying in one place. They started growing grain. And for the first time, it became possible to produce more food than you needed today. That surplus changed everything. Archaeologist Brian Hayden has spent his career studying how inequality first crept into human societies, and his research points to something almost embarrassingly simple. It wasn't conquest. It was feasting. Certain ambitious individuals, the ones Hayden calls aggrandizers, realized they could throw parties, big ones. They'd grow extra grain, raise extra animals, brew extra beer, and then invite the whole community to eat and drink for free. Sounds generous. It wasn't. Picture it. A man spends an entire year raising extra pigs, storing extra grain, brewing extra beer that took months to ferment. Then he invites the whole village. Everyone eats until they're full. Everyone drinks until they're loose and happy. Everyone leaves that night thinking of him fondly. He didn't ask for anything in return. Not yet, because a feast creates a debt. And a debt creates power. If you eat at someone's table for years, you start to owe them something. Loyalty, labor, support when they need you. Slowly, without anyone declaring it out loud, the person throwing the biggest feasts became the person everyone quietly depended on. Bohm's fierce egalitarian instincts were still there. But they weren't built for a world with surplus. They evolved for a world of daily hunting where hoarding food meant it would just rot. Once storage became possible, the old defenses against domination had a blind spot, and ambitious humans found it. Hayden's research shows this pattern repeating across continents, in societies that never had any contact with each other. On the northwest coast of North America, aggrandizers threw lavish ceremonies called potlatches, giving away enormous piles of wealth just to prove they had more than anyone else. In parts of Papua New Guinea, big men earned their status the same way, not through violence, but through generosity so extreme it became a kind of debt no one could ever fully repay. Different continents, different centuries, same trick. Notice what's missing from this story. No armies, no conquest. No one forced anyone to bow. It happened gradually enough that no single person along the way could have pointed to the exact moment their freedom disappeared. That's the part your brain resists the most. You want to imagine tyranny arriving with a sword. Most of the time, it arrived with a dinner invitation. This is where it gets stranger. Around 11,000 years ago, in what is now southeastern Turkey, people who hadn't even invented farming yet built something massive. Göbekli Tepe, massive carved stone pillars, arranged in circles, some weighing over 10 tons, built by hunter-gatherers with no metal tools. Archaeologist Klaus Schmidt led the excavation of this site for years. And what he found upended the old theory of how civilization began. Everyone used to assume farming came first. And once you had farming, you had surplus. And once you had surplus, you had religion and hierarchy. Göbekli Tepe suggests the opposite order. The temple came first. The organizing, the shared belief, the coordinated labor of hundreds of people, all before anyone had planted a single row of wheat. Why does that matter? Because it means the earliest form of power wasn't a warlord standing over a village with a sword. It was something quieter, a story, a shared belief that certain places, certain rituals, certain people mattered more than others. Once a community believes that an unseen order deserves their labor, someone inevitably steps forward to represent that order. And once someone represents the gods, they start to look a little like one. Think about what it actually takes to build something like Göbekli Tepe. Hundreds of people, most of whom still needed to hunt and forage to survive, had to be convinced to stop what they were doing, gather in one place, and haul multi-ton stone pillars using nothing but ropes, timber, and coordinated human muscle. That kind of coordination doesn't happen by accident. Someone had to organize it. Someone had to decide where each pillar went, when the work happened, who ate what while everyone else labored. That role, project coordinator for the gods, is one of the oldest leadership positions in human history. And it's not hard to see how quickly organizing sacred labor could shade into commanding it. Here's your brain's dirty secret. It's built to spot hierarchy, even where none should exist. Studies on primates, including decades of observation by Frans de Waal, show that hierarchy-seeking behavior runs deep in our evolutionary line. Chimpanzees form alliances. They groom the powerful. They posture for rank. Humans do the same thing, just with better costumes. The feast giver becomes the one who organizes labor for the next feast. The temple's representative becomes the one who decides who can enter. The organizer of one good harvest becomes the person everyone turns to when the harvest fails. Slowly, generation by generation, temporary influence calcified into permanent status. Status turned into inheritance. Inheritance turned into bloodline. And bloodline eventually turned into the claim that a particular family didn't just lead the people. They were chosen by the gods to rule them. By the time you reach ancient Egypt, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient China, the transformation is complete. The king isn't just a successful feast thrower anymore. He's divine. He's untouchable. He commands armies, controls grain stores, and claims his authority comes not from the people, but from the heavens themselves. In Mesopotamia, the earliest rulers didn't call themselves kings of a people. They called themselves stewards of the grain, appointed by the gods to manage the temple's surplus on behalf of everyone. It sounds humble. It wasn't. Whoever controls the grain store controls who eats and who doesn't. In Egypt, the pharaoh wasn't just a ruler. He was Horus, in human form, a living god whose flooding of the Nile, quite literally, kept the entire civilization alive in the popular imagination. Refusing him wasn't just rebellion. It was blasphemy against the order of the universe itself. That's an extraordinary transformation. From a man who once had to earn loyalty one feast at a time, to a man whose loyalty was now owed simply because of who his father was. And the people who spent 200,000 years mocking anyone who tried this? They bowed. Why did they stop resisting? Because the tools of resistance, gossip, exclusion, ridicule, only work in small groups where everyone knows everyone. Boehm's research is clear on this point. Reverse dominance hierarchies function because the group is small enough that reputation travels instantly and no one can hide from it. A band of 30 people can shame a bully into submission by nightfall. A city of 30,000 cannot. You don't even know most of the people he rules, and most of them don't know you. The intimate social pressure that once made domination impossible simply couldn't scale. Scale is what kings needed. Scale is exactly what they got the moment farming allowed populations to grow, beyond the size where everyone could watch everyone. Think about that for a second. The very same mind that evolved to despise bullies also evolved the capacity to build cities, store grain, and believe in gods. And it was that second set of abilities that made the first defense obsolete. This isn't just an ancient story. It's a template. Every hierarchy you've ever navigated, in school, at work, online, runs on some version of the same ingredients. Hayden and Boehm identified thousands of years ago. Somebody offers something valuable, a promotion, a platform, a sense of belonging. You accept it, and slowly, without ever signing a contract that says so, you find yourself deferring to them, not because they forced you to, because you owe them, and owing someone quietly reshapes how you treat them. You still carry both instincts today. You still feel a flash of anger when someone at work takes credit they didn't earn, or cuts in line, or talks down to you like they're better. That's the old hunter-gatherer in you, the one who would have mocked an aggrandizer around the fire. But you also feel a pull toward status, toward impressive titles, toward people who seem powerful, successful, chosen. That's the other half. The half that built the temples and threw the feasts and eventually bowed to the first king. So the next time you watch a coronation, or scroll past a headline about a monarchy, or even just notice yourself being a little impressed by someone with a fancy job title, remember what you're actually looking at. Not power that was seized, power that was fed to a hungry crowd, one feast at a time, until the crowd forgot it used to laugh at people like this. Somewhere in the world, right now, a person is still bowing to another person. Not because that person is stronger, because 10,000 years ago, one of your ancestors figured out that the fastest way to rule people isn't to conquer them. It's to feed them.